Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the conversation series.
Because creators are businesses.
What we do is not simple.
Give, the fans everything that they deserve.
Being creative
is like doing a 5,000 piece puzzle.
Is something that you can learn and do over and over again.
Always be as authentic as I can be.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the conversation series. I am so excited today to be sitting across from Miss Hanna Hepburn. She is the founder of Bring That Community, a mentorship community for dynamic women. We're going to get into this, how this platform is all built up. Hanna, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Danielle.
Yes.
So excited to podcast with you today.
Yes, I'm excited because I want to hop into, this incredible company and business that you've started, but I really want to start with your personal leadership journey first and really how leadership has been woven through your life so far. And I want to start with getting kind of a defining moment from, early in your career when you realized like, hey, a leadership style worked for you. You kind of saw how leadership was really something you gelled with.
Yeah. That's a great question, Danielle. So I can give a little bit of my background and kind of how Bring came to be and like what I'm doing with that. But I started my career in corporate tech sales right out of college in 2019, pre-COVID, and was lucky enough to work for some phenomenal bosses over the years. And one boss, he's more of a mentor than a boss and still a very good friend to this day, but he was really big on being comfortable with ambiguity and letting me ask a lot of different questions and kind of having me go off and try and fail sometimes, but also uplifting me. And he wanted to see the way I thought about process and thought about technology and thought about our customer relationships. And I've really always taken that with me because I think that was really impactful and powerful as I've advanced in my own career and everything I've done with Bring, because to me, everyone's journey is a little bit different and you can't expect the same, like to mimic someone's journey, right? And so I think it's really powerful when you give people the freedom to be creative and to see how they think and perceive things. And I think that really relates to leadership and how you build people up and give people that autonomy and make a great team.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting as you continue through your career, like how you really see teams change, people come and go, how that changes things as well. You see different things happen in industries and there's so many factors that feed into how well a team really works together and how well that leadership kind of swims through those issues. Like it's a challenge.
Absolutely. It's a big challenge. And I work in my corporate job. I work in corporate tech sales, and everyone or most people are quite a bit older than me and have a lot of different experience. And so for me, I always was asking myself, how do I bring something unique to the table that these people don't have, right? And I think there's always a way to be both like a mentor and mentee when you have a boss or a coach or a leader. I think you can always learn so much from the people that are working for you, just like you learn from them, right? And I think one of the things that for me that I did is really capitalize on the social selling part of it, right? Because people of our generation were coming up. We know how to use all these different social methodologies and things like that. But that was really a differentiator where I felt like I could start mentoring my team and start being a leader in that way. So I think sometimes with leadership, you fill in the gaps, right? And kind of redefine that everyone can be a leader and contribute to that team dynamic.
Yeah. I love that you pointed out that one of your bosses, but you really see him as a mentor because I have a similar situation where she was my boss at the time for several years and turned into today as a mentor. And I turn to her constantly still. Like we don't work together anymore, but I turn to her constantly. I'm running ideas by her. We're sharing things that are happening in our lives. And it's incredible how those relationships change over time as well, that you go from that boss situation to, I feel like with a mentorship, you're able to get in things a little deeper than when you are in a boss employee kind of situation.
Absolutely. That's a great point. And part of the inspiration behind Bring kind of goes into that, Danielle, because I remember I was like driving to work one day pre-COVID and I called my mom and I was like, it's so hard for me to find female mentorship at this company. I work at a Fortune 500 company. There should be way more female leaders. It's 2019. Or it was early 2020 at the time, before the pandemic changed everything. But I was like, what if there is a platform, to your point, where we can have, these conversations, these tough conversations that are not just the boss employee version, right? We can have the honest conversations and ask people more about life experiences, like how they made hard transitions, the choices that they were making, whether it came to switching careers, family planning, whether they were looking to start a side hustle, start a business on the side. And I was like, we don't really have something like that. And also female mentorship was just still lax. And I was like, what if we just did a female mentorship marketplace where you can be both a mentor and mentee, depending on your experience, age, background, everything like that. Because I feel like we define like either leadership or mentorship as like, oh, someone has to have 20, 30, 40 years of experience. And that's just not the case, because when I was getting into my career, I'm sure you felt the same way. I was like, I would love to pick someone's brain who's 5 years older than me and who just made this jump, right? Because they're closer to it. And with everything with social media and everything that's come to light and the way that we interact with the world, I was like, what if we could do that and really redefine the way people think about not only leadership, but mentorship?
I think another one too that's really been talked about as well is when we're progressing through our careers and we're saying, oh, hey, we got promotions coming up and things like, how do we negotiate some things as well? And so I think that's a big area that we look up to people who have been in our positions, but also have been in these industries for so long that we can look and say, hey, 100%. Give me some tips. How do we negotiate a better salary? How do we sit down and have those conversations about what it does look like to be able to get a promotion, et cetera?
Absolutely. And I think as women, we run into a lot of the same challenges too. It can be really hard to have these honest and hard conversations, right? Whether it is with your boss or with employees at work, it can be difficult to frame that. And sometimes you really need to run it by someone that is either in the same industry, but at a different company, or they might be in a different industry, but they run into the same problem. So how do you reframe that and kind of get an outsider's perspective to help you coach you through that, instead of just trying to do it on your own, right? We weren't meant to do things on our own. And if you can talk to people who have done it and been through that, I just always think that's such 100%. A win.
100%. And I mean, you've moved between mentor and mentee throughout your career as well. How has wearing both of those hats for you shaped your understanding of leadership as well?
That's a great question. I feel like it's so fluid. And I'll get into that because I feel like as a mentor, you want to help guide, and you want your mentee, though, to really come with those good questions. You want them to think outside the box. You want to really encourage. And I think there's a lot of differences between like a coach, a mentor, a boss, a
There's
leader.
a lot of terms thrown out these days.
Exactly. And so I always preface it with like, on Bring, you don't need to have all these coaching certifications. We're more concerned about what is your experience? What differentiates you? What do you bring to the table? Because we all have a different story. We all have these different life experiences. And if you can help someone in one respect and help guide them, think about how much you would benefit from what you're giving to someone. And I think a lot about it, Danielle, in the frame of, we are at, as you enter your late 20s, 30s, 40s, we all have these different experiences. And I progressed quickly in my tech career. I run a large global account in media. But for me, I have people come to me and they're like, how did you do it? And I'm like, well, I think everyone's experience is very different and unique. But I can help you develop some of these skills and these tools that you can apply to your own journey. But on the flip side, I've also had a lot of mentors that, like, I still need a lot of mentorship myself. And they've been like, hey, that's a great question. Or like, what is your idea on social selling in today's world? Like, what are you doing that's unique? And I think the more that we can respect everyone's input and learn from them and redefine the way we think about mentorship based on like, someone coming out of college versus someone who's been in sales for 30 years, you can learn so much about how to socially sell and about how to use those new platforms from that person instead of just defining it as the mentor-mentee relationship. It can be both, right? And I think it's more based on that experience and that uniqueness that you bring rather than just the years of age or the experience that you have. So.
Everybody's life and career is so differently. Like you were saying, you quickly grew in your career. Sometimes that may take people a lot
100%.
longer. So I think it's really interesting that no matter what that time frame looks for everybody, there's a journey that everybody still goes through that means something, and that can be passed along to people, no matter what their age, people that are coming up into the industry as well. I think all those perspectives are so incredibly important.
Absolutely. I learned a lot from one of my mentors at my corporate job who recently retired. But one thing that she really taught me was when mentors really ask mentees the questions too, right? So every time I would talk to her, I would come with my questions. And that's another disclaimer I'll throw out there. I think it's really important whenever you're asking someone for their time, for their expertise,
100%.
to come prepped,
Yes.
to come with really good questions, do your research beforehand. I know that's one of my biggest pet peeves in general. If someone's like, hey, can I get 30 minutes on your calendar? I want it to be intentional. I want to have a plan. I want to know what you want to discuss just so I can be prepped too.
100%.
So we can capitalize on the time. But this mentor of mine, she would start asking me questions and like about the way I thought about things or like, what's your opinion on this going on at work? And I really started appreciating that and reciprocating that to the females that I mentor as well, if that makes sense. So I would come in with, okay, what questions do I have for them based on their experience? How can they help me develop with my social selling, with my sales methodology? What have they heard being on the ground, like cold calling or whatever,
100%.
that can relate into what I'm doing and make me a better salesperson and make me better at Bring. So
I think I've had so many people. My dad has been in corporate America for 35 years. So I have so many people as well. He's been in finance. He's been in sales. So it's one of those that I have friends who are, when we were coming out of college, they're like, can I talk to your dad? And I'm like, sure, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you what you need to do if I'm going to set up this time. And the biggest thing is I'm like, you have to come prepared because you're going to need to ask him questions. Like, he's happy to help you,
of course,
but you need to show up and bring your best self as well if you're asking for somebody's time. So I love that you called that out.
100%. And Danielle, that's what we're really trying to do with Bring, because how many people have we all had, whether it was via like a friend, via a family member, or via LinkedIn, via social media that reach out and they're like,
can I have some of your time?
Can I have your time? And for me, I was like, there's people at all these levels that we're recruiting to mentor on Bring, because while I would love to give my time, I can't respond to every single person. I don't have enough hours in the day to mentor all these people. But what I could do is be a part of Bring, where I can set my own rate and I can charge for, like, I can set my own pricing for how valuable I feel that my time is. And then the market will demand it or not. And then I can adjust my pricing. So we really wanted to give a lot of power back to the mentors and mentees to set their pricing, set their rate, come up with unique mentorship offerings. And then the mentees can choose from a variety of people. Like someone, like me in my late 20s, I'm not going to charge the same as an executive's going to charge.
100%.
But I would probably pay to interview or to talk to an executive and get mentorship from them from the point of where I am in my career. But someone coming out of college might just be like, Hannah, I need you to look at my resume.
Yes.
So I really feel like what we're trying to do is bridge that gap, like 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and have Bring grow with its mentors, because who knows, me and you could be
100%
running stuff in 10, 15 years or even before that, but we're part of that network and that community, and we grow with everyone in the network.
100%. So we've been talking a lot about Bring already, but I
Yes.
want to go back to kind of that gap in the market that you saw, that conversation you're having with your mom. And I want to dig deeper into there and really what you were able to find once you kind of said, okay, I'm seeing this.
Yeah.
Did we go down a research hole? What did we go do to kind of figure out and more about this gap and how you can kind of, I don't want to say fix it, but be part of a solution there?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So how I approached that is I obviously did my market research, saw what else was out there from a competitive standpoint. But for me, doing the research wasn't enough. I had to go do the programs. So I did multiple mentor-mentee coaching programs through my corporate job. I did a couple on my own outside of it. And I kept finding the same things that I didn't love about them. And granted, I gained a lot from them and I did appreciate my time doing those. But one thing I realized is once you were tied to a mentor with a lot of these platforms, that was the only person you could talk to. So you would have the same session, maybe it's once a week, once every other week. You would, you know, based on your availability, you would plan that. But they would also not really give you a lot of autonomy when you were picking it as the user. So they would generate your insights, which I think is really powerful from an AI perspective, having good recommendations. However, I was like, well, I might want to talk to this one lady who used to run HR at a big corporation about XYZ, but I might want to talk to a sales director about these other things.
Yeah.
So with Bring, I'm very adamant about giving the choice back to the mentees on who they talk to. And if they want to have those constant conversations with someone they click with, that's great. They can subscribe to that. But I also feel like they should be able to have one-off conversations
100%.
or be like, hey, Danielle has a great profile. I want to learn about how she got into podcasting just to get some ideas flowing.
Yeah.
And so that's really where I identified the gap in the market. And I look at it not just from a professional standpoint, but about side gigs, like side hustles and interests and traveling. And so how can you expand that to like all these different areas of life? And I've always had a lot of different interests from like my college days and from work. And I was like, well, what if I wanted to take a little time off and travel? Like I would love to talk to someone who did that. It can be as simple as that, right?
Yeah. I think it's one, in my perspective, crazy just to have one particular person that you talk to and not be able that in my mind is a little ludicrous because I think it keeps us in a box.
It does.
It keeps us in a box that doesn't allow us to say, I want to go move here. I want to do we have things that change in our lives that we constantly are pushing us in different directions that it's always nice to be able to say, you have no clue what I'm talking about anymore. You know what I mean? Like you do not have the perspective. You don't understand my perspective. I need somebody that may in some slight understand this more than you do.
100%.
I think it's crazy not to be able to have those perspectives.
I couldn't agree more. And I do think, to your point, you shift over time. So my priorities a year ago are not going to be my priorities now, especially if I'm making a career change, if I were to change companies, go to Bring full time. There's all these things that just based on where you are in your life, right? You're going to have different conversations. So that's really the power. What I feel like of Bring is having those conversations at those hard transition periods in your life and not being confined to one person where you have to pay this premium price. And often, especially students coming out of college that are looking for internships or jobs, they're not going to be able to afford an $100 an hour session. And on Bring, I'm like, well, then don't pay for that. Pay for someone who's a couple years above you and they're going to offer a much cheaper session, right? So it's really the discretion of the mentors, but it's what the mentees are willing to pay. And all of that is flexible and adjustable over time.
Yeah, I love that. And, I want to get into with these mentorship programs.
Yeah.
Was there a moment you kind of realized that hey, okay, I've got a solution here. I've got something, like going through all of this that you felt like, okay, yeah, a little verified almost, that you're like, okay, yeah, I can go do this and we can make this something that's more conclusive or something that's more together for everybody.
Yes, there was definitely that defining moment for me. So I'll take you guys back a little bit on the history and the timeline here. So I had this conversation, like you mentioned, Danielle, with my mom in like early 2020. And I kind of sat on the idea for a little. I was like, I'm really less than a year into my corporate job.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I had per se the credibility
Yeah.
to really do something yet. And part of it, if I could give any advice on here, it would be just jump in and do it. You can
100%.
always start somewhere. And I think I was so terrified of putting myself out there and pitching the idea that I allowed a couple years to go by as I built my career and, you know, moved up the ranks in corporate. But I was like, why didn't I just start then? Like, you know, I had started putting together a business plan, but it wasn't until spring of 2023 that I really like built the LLC, which I was like, okay, this was a lot easier than I thought, right? And I've been building up the platform ever since with a variety of different people helping me. But my point to all this is that I feel like when I was like building this and I would be on these other programs I was doing, I was like, you know, I feel like I have a lot to offer already. And I feel like a lot of my, for example, my youngest sister, her friends would come to me and be like, Hannah, we need internships. Like, can you please help us? And I'd be like, yeah, I want to help all of them. I can't get them all internships, but like, how can my advice or like what I've done in my career directly impact them? Because I didn't have that person for me. And I felt like even when I was in college, I was like, went to UNC and I would go to the career office. I'm like, hey, who can I talk to? Like, I have a lot of different interests. And I feel like there's such a gap with the colleges too and coming out. And yeah, there's career fairs and all that, but like, who can I really talk to get the honest takes on all of this? And so I felt like that was really missing. And a lot of my friends, when I hosted the first Spring Focus Group, which was November of 2023, a lot of them were like, we really just want people to talk to that have gone through the transitions that we're going through, are making hard decisions, are navigating career changes. Because as you get older too, I feel like your friendships change as well. And also all your friends are in different stages of their lives. And so you can't always, they might not understand what you're going through at that time. So maybe it's better to have a mentor-mentee conversation to help have someone guide you. And so you don't feel alone in what you're going through.
We've been dealing with something similar in my trio that I've got. And it's funny, we are all at different points in our life. We all have different careers. So it is one of those things where it's like, it's a very interesting conversation to have with us, that two of us are in a very similar place. We have similar careers, but we're not exactly in the same industry or in the same roles. But we have another friend who, she's married, and it's one that it's like, she has a different job. And it's one of those, like, it's an awkward money conversation. It's an awkward thing to complain about some of those, you know what I mean? Like, it's, sometimes you have to think about, like, that stuff can't sit in those conversations. And so, it is interesting to be able to have that place and have that other circle that you can go to, of people that says, I understand, I've got it. I have it may not have any personal connection to you, but like, they have an understanding of what's happening.
100%. And at the end of the day, we want to be a community for relationship building, right? That's always the goal. I feel like the more relationships that you can make throughout your life, the better you're going to be in terms of, because you never know who you're going to meet, right? So if you have these conversations on Bring, who knows, you could be talking to your next boss, right? You could be talking to someone who works at a company that you've wanted to work for years. You could be talking to someone that just started a business and wants help or support promoting it. And maybe you start a side gig with them. So the possibilities are really endless. And I also like to think of it as a network of female entrepreneurs. Not that you have to be an entrepreneur to join Bring, but I do think like there's so many women like what we're doing, how you have a job and then you have a side gig and you're really passionate about everything that you do and you want to share that and you want to encourage other women to do that and have multiple streams of income, have multiple interests. And I think that story itself is really powerful.
I want to get into, because you were kind of just setting the stage there for kind of how Bring has come together, like how people can oscillate between mentor and mentee. I wanted to get into kind of the fluidity that is so central. Like, why is that fluidity so central to your philosophy of mentorship with Bring?
That is so central to Bring because I view all of us as lifelong learners. And I feel like if you don't have that mindset, and I know that can be overused, but for me, I personally feel like if you don't have that mindset, you might not be the right fit for Bring, right? Because I think that everlasting curiosity is what really drives me and makes me excited, not only about my tech job, but about Bring, wanting to give back to females and empower them, enable them. And I'm always curious about how we can better support the younger generation of women. How can we all get a seat at the table? Like, how can we continue to succeed? And unfortunately, I've encountered women in corporate America that don't want all women to have a seat at the table. And so for me, I've always viewed it like, if I can mentor a younger woman or even an older woman or someone my age, and you can be more successful than me, I've done my job, right? And I'm not threatened by that because I feel very passionate about what I do and secure in myself. And so when you're able to message that and create a community like that, I think that's super powerful.
There's differentiation between all of us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like we said before, everyone's journey is not the same.
Correct.
And so for me, I might have gotten to this point faster than someone else, but they might get to this next point faster than me. But it's not even about the time it takes. It's about like the journey along the way.
It's not a snail and turtle race or a snail and rabbit race kind of situation. It's just everybody's different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. The platform that you have built really emphasizes one, accessibility, but also affordability.
Yes.
And like we've been talking about, you may be coming out of college, you may not have the budget to spend $100 a week to be able to do those things. How do you balance compensating expertise while keeping mentorship open to all?
That's a great question. And we are early on in our journey, just to preface. So right now, what we're focused on, Danielle, is really recruiting those mentors of all different stages. So some women who have been working for 5 years, but some who have been working for 30. So our goal right now is to really recruit all these mentors for the community and then push it out to the mentees to make sure we have and we vet those quality mentors before pushing it out. And then it will be some trial and error for sure about what prices are we going to set, how does the market respond to that? How much do mentees want to pay for this stuff? And that's going to vary too, based on the age, the income, the experience of the mentees, right? So it's kind of we're early on in the process, but I think as we go along, we will figure that out more and more. But some of it is just the experimentation and seeing what the market reacts to. And I think that's kind of where we are earlier on right now.
Love it. Mentorship at Bring covers, like we've been talking about, a wide array of topics: careers, entrepreneurship, investing, and even personal growth. How do you help members navigate the wide array of topics that are kind of out there, what Bring has accessibility to in terms of mentors, how you can help everybody with those areas?
I think what it really comes down to is educating the people that want to be a part of our community and helping them learn how we're redefining mentorship, but also in curating those mentorship offerings, right? So for example, I could have multiple mentorship offerings, one for tech sales, but one for buying a house or investing, and one for starting my own company. And so I think tailoring, not too narrow, but tailoring those Bring mentor offerings is really what we're focused on with our mentorship community, because we want to make sure that the women who are the mentees are really getting the best quality out of these interactions. But we also want to enable our mentors to start to think about what are the offerings that they want to offer? Like what do they want to put out? What are they really proud of? Where have they had big win stories? And what do they feel like they have expertise on? So it's really crafting those mentorship offerings and making sure that those are resonating with the community.
I love that. I don't want to ask set it up as the cheesy question of, hey, tell me what the 5, 10, 10-year vision is. But like, what are you truly passionate and focused on in the next few years around like, hey, this is what we really want to bring to life with Bring. And this is what we kind of want to grow more, do more. There's things we love to try, etc.
So what we're really recruiting for now is I'd like to get at least 50 very solid mentors on the platform in the next like couple months. That's the goal by summer. So we can start having more conversations, getting feedback. So right now we're really looking at who are going to be the founding Bring members and who would be a really good fit for that. And our membership process, just so everyone, or our mentorship application process, you can't just roll up and sign up. You do have to go through an application process because I do believe in quality and I want people that are going to be on Bring, be committed. You can set your own hours. So if you work a full-time job and you want to do a couple hours at night of mentoring, you can set your availability to that. If you want to do the weekend mentoring, you can do that. But for me, I'm really focused on the quality of the people and the mentors we put on the platform and then rolling it out to colleges, universities, younger females and females going through those transitions. Like maybe there's a mom that took time off to be home with her children and now she's ready to get back into a career but wants to make a change. And so how do we support people at those different huge transition points? But my focus really in the long term, and I know this is going to sound cheesy right back, but it's really empowering women and supporting them because I think we still face so many doubts as women. Even I've had so much imposter syndrome and I still do. And how do we band together this community to be stronger, to support one another, to watch each other grow in our careers and have that kind of safe space to come back to and to continuously run these events and like things that we face in life by.
Yeah. Okay. So you piqued my interest when you mentioned it earlier, but I'm so interested to hear about these focus groups that you did.
Yes.
I would love to hear more about just one collectively, how you kind of got that group together and what was really the basis of those conversations and kind of how that then funneled into the building of Bring. What are the different facets that kind of fed into Bring from there?
Absolutely. The first focus group, like I mentioned, that we had was really eye-opening because I tried to target an array of people in different industries. But I also think when you're building a business, you have to start with your personal connections and your personal network. So I'd be remiss if I didn't say a lot of them were my friends, obviously, and have some great friends. But a lot were also my mom's friends or people that I knew from work or people that I knew from different organizations I'm involved in, and really appealing to that. We had about 30 women of all different backgrounds, and we all kind of kept coming back to the same questions about like, when is the right time to switch careers? Like, how do I switch careers? When do I want a family plan? How do I structure my 5-year plan? And we were like, there's nowhere we can ask people this unless we're talking to our friends, but we're all in different stages. So how do I find people that are going through the same stages of life as me? And that was really eye-opening for me because this was prior to when I started building the app. Let me just go ahead and say this. I'm not an app developer. I have a great app developer I work with. It's not me building it.
The amount of people that I have talked to that are like, yeah, we have an app. And I'm like, did you try building the app at first? And they were like, yeah. And I'm like, and who's building it now? And they're like, not me.
I didn't even try, Danielle. I was like, I could do the sales piece and that's it.
None of that language makes any sense to me. I'm like, I leave that to the professionals.
It is so crazy. And it's amazing. And what I really wanted to do in that focus group, and then we had another one in March of 2024, is I really wanted to collect, what are you all missing in the market? Because if I'm building this app with if my developer's building this app with my vision, let me say it like that, then if it's not resonating with people that I'm closest to and that are my target market, then why am I building it? 100%. And so I really felt like I had to go back from scratch at points and pivot and be like, because when we were first doing these events, I was like, oh, maybe this will be more of like an event, we'll do it like once a month or once a quarter. And I do think there's a lot of power in getting people together in person. But I also think there's barrier for entry then if you only have it in Raleigh instead of other cities.
It becomes more of a local situation than it does a...
Exactly. Yeah. And I was never trying to be an event planning company. So I feel like I had to make some pivots along the way, especially with who I like outsource some stuff to, who I worked with. But now I feel like we have a really good vision, and we're building up the application. It's so close to being, it's actually live, but we just have a couple more bugs we're working through. Yeah. And so you can find that on bring.community and like apply there. But we are like so close to being where I would like it to be, to be in that like founding member phase. And I've actually I did another focus group. I have to shout out Flourish Co-working for this. It's amazing. And they gave a lot of feedback on my app when it was, in the beta phase back in the fall. And so I've collected a ton of insights. It's gone slower because of this, but I don't have any regrets on this because I feel like you have to continue to collect the data along the way and push it out when you're proud of it and when you're ready for it and when the market's ready for it.
Yeah. Hannah, I got one last question for you. And we've been talking about you when you started your career, but really thinking about young Hannah when she was in college at Chapel Hill, looking back at your college experience, like, is there a piece of advice you go back and look at young Hannah and say, stick with this, you got this? Or is there something you'd pass along to her?
That's I love that question. It almost makes me emotional.
Isn't it funny to think about? You're like, wow. It makes you feel older.
It does. And I'll go back to this again. I swear it was what one of my mentors told me, Danielle. And he was like, and this actually happens to be a male mentor. I've had female mentors, obviously. But he was like, you need to just trust your gut. Your gut is so spot on with all these choices. And if I could go back to my younger self, I would say, always trust your gut. If something doesn't feel right, it's probably not right. Like if there's doubt, there's no doubt. And that's something that's always stuck with me. But the other biggest piece of advice I would say is don't put yourself in a box. Like you said, don't limit yourself. I think I was always underestimating how much I could actually achieve and how much I could do with my life. And now I'm like, why don't I just try it and get started on it? And so I would really focus less, if I could go back to my younger self, on how I thought everyone else like viewed me and like was seeing me, and just be like, am I doing this for me and because I want to better the world and because I want to work with great people, rather than being so caught up in what are people going to think about me? And I know that's way easier said than done. And I still run into that, but I think you have to do what's best for you. You have to believe in yourself. And I know that sounds cliche, but really what you can accomplish is so much bigger than what you probably set out to do in the first place.
Yes. Yeah. And I go back to what you said earlier as well, is of just do it. I think so many people get caught up in like, I don't have the right naming. I don't have the right concept. I don't have this, this, and this. And I'm like, you are never going to get it live. It's never going to happen if you get so caught up in those things of like, all those things are still going to be there when it goes live, and you will always have those issues.
100%.
I always have people that will come to me and they'll be like, I want to start a podcast. I'm like, go do it today. I'm like, it is never going to be the right time. It is never going to be the right moment ever. You have to just go do it.
Just go do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like Nike's got the best phrase ever.
I know. We just rep Nike over here.
Hannah, I can't thank you enough for sitting down with me today and walking me through this. I'm so incredibly excited to see the app when it goes live and everything. I'm so excited for you and this community that you're building.
Thank you, Danielle. It was a pleasure. And congrats on everything you've done. It's amazing.
Thank you. I so appreciate it. And as always, you guys, I'm going to have Hannah's information down below, as well as Bring Communities. Please go give them a follow. Stay in tune with everything they're doing. Hannah's got everything being updated. So you guys stay in tune with it all. But as always, I will see you guys back here next time. Bye, y'all.